This is the story of a crime that, by all rights, should have remained unsolved. But just when the police had given up hope, a man emerged who used, to put it mildly, an unconventional method of dealing with criminals. Kelly was born in December 1988. She spent her childhood and youth in sunny Florida. As strange as it may sound for a young woman, she dreamed of serving in the Army. And in 2011, at the age of 22, Kelly enlisted in the military. Her service began with boot camp, after which she was transferred to the 261st Medical Battalion. Based in North Carolina, more than 1,000 kilometers from her native Florida, such a long move didn't bother her. She was completely focused on her work and planned to build a good career in the Army. As for her personal life, by this time she had already been married for about a year to a man named Mike Bordeaux. However, their relationship turned out completely differently than they had imagined before their wedding. Mike wasn't thrilled that Kelly had decided to join the Army, and she didn't want to become just a housewife, so Kelly moved to North Carolina alone, without her husband. She spent the first few months alone, but soon she and Mike found a compromise and decided to give their relationship another chance. Mike moved to North Carolina, but after just 3 months, they finally realized that their views on life didn't align. They wouldn't be able to change each other, and Mike returned back to Florida. They were still husband and wife, but how? Each of them now considered themselves completely free. After Mike left, Kelly began a relationship with a guy named Justin Thompson. She had known him for a long time before marrying Mike. He also lived in Florida. Due to the vast distance, Kelly and Justin saw each other only a few times a month. But at this point, they both were happy with that. Everything changed in April 2012, when their relationship reached a new level. Now they were ready to move in together. And Justin came to North Carolina so they could look for a place to live together. They spent a whole week together, and Justin needed to go back to Florida for a few days to finish up some remaining chores and pick up his things. On Friday, April 13th, Kelly decided to have some fun at a local bar called Frog Bottom. Justin was still finishing up his chores in Florida. Before going to the bar, the girl sent him a photo of herself, after which they exchanged a few words via text message and Kelly went to the bar. That night, at about 1:30, Kelly texted Justin again. "I'm safe. I got home safely. I'm going to bed. I'm tired and drunk. Call me tomorrow." This message confused the guy a little. Usually, Kelly didn't text him when she returned home. He also found it strange that the message emphasized that the girl was safe and got home safely. Justin immediately tried to call Kelly back, but her phone was already turned off. The next day, the silence continued, and Justin became seriously worried. He tried calling Kelly all day, but his attempts were unsuccessful. He contacted the police in Kelly's hometown. He tried to file a missing person report, but was denied, as the police could only accept such a report from a relative of the missing person. Then Justin called the base where Kelly was stationed. There, they told him that Kelly had not reported for duty, which meant something had clearly happened to her. Kelly's fellow soldiers, along with the police, checked her house, but only then did it become clear that she had not returned home the night before. Only now was Kelly Bordeaux officially declared missing. Authorities notified the girl's relatives, who immediately flew to North Carolina, including Kelly's husband, Mike Bordeaux. Now began one of the largest searches in North Carolina history. This was largely facilitated by Kelly's military service. In addition to the police, the military also participated in the search. But as time went on, the missing persons case quickly escalated into a presumed murder. Now the police were searching not only for the girl herself, but also for her alleged kidnapper.
Sorry.
Are you a sister?
I just, Please just return my sister.
As is usually the case in such cases, the first suspects are the missing victim's loved ones, so it's no surprise that Kelly's husband, Mike Bordeaux, topped the list. His behavior was quite strange. He actively participated in the search for the girl, while telling the press that everything was fine in their relationship, that they weren't even considering divorce, and that they had big plans for their future life together. The police knew this wasn't true because he told them a different story, more recognizable, in which their marriage was on the rocks. Although it was unclear why Mike lied to the press about their marriage, he was still eliminated as a suspect because he was in Florida the night the girl disappeared and had an alibi. Suspect number 2 was Justin Thompson, but he was also in Florida that night, and, like Mike, had an alibi. The search was fruitless, and as with any missing persons case, the more time passed, the less likely it was to find the missing person. By this point, it was clear that Mike and Justin were not involved, but there was another man in the story. According to witnesses, Kelly spent a lot of time talking to barman that night. His name was Nicholas Holbert, and he lived in a small trailer in the woods near the bar. Lacking any leads, the police decided to question him as well.
Since Friday night, no contact with her whatsoever. You don't know where she's at. Well, what do you know about her?
Nothing really for what, 6 hours altogether?
Down in the car, I need to know about that.
No, I did not.
Not even touched her.
No.
During the interrogation, he behaved calmly, answered all the police questions, and tried his best to help them solve the case. Nicholas confirmed that he and Kelly had indeed talked a lot that evening, and even said that he had given her a ride home that night. Despite being the last person to see Kelly the night she went missing, the police had absolutely no evidence that he had harmed her, so he was also ruled out as a suspect. However, his past once again brought him into the police's sights. As it turned out, Nicholas wasn't the first suspect. When he was 16, he tried to solicit sex from a 5-year-old girl, for which he'd ultimately received 5 years in prison. Now, Nicholas was once again the #1 suspect in Kelly Bordeaux's kidnapping. But the problem was, the police really had nothing on him. Not even the slightest real lead that could prove his guilt. The only thing they could do was prosecute him for failing to inform authorities of his move to North Carolina. By law, former inmates convicted of pedophilia are required to report their current address to authorities. He violated this rule by failing to notify authorities that he was now living in North Carolina. This miscalculation gave the police an opportunity to put him behind bars for a while. They thought they could crack him, but now he was no longer as cooperative as before and refused to talk to the police about Kelly Bordeaux's disappearance. The police still had no real evidence against him. All they could do was continue searching. A $25,000 reward was offered for help finding Kelly Bordeaux. But time was still passing without results for the police. Besides the police, there was another person involved in the case, who was also interested in finding the girl. This was a private investigator, David Marshbarn. He was not hired by Kelly's family. He acted voluntarily, and the girl's family did not even know about it. Perhaps he was interested in publicizing his services. After all, the case was actively covered by the press, and solving it would be the best advertisement for his agency. He only needed one interview with Nicholas to understand this. Convinced that he was clearly involved in the girl's disappearance, David was certain that Kelly's body was buried somewhere in the woods near the bar, but the woods were vast, and the only thing that could help in the search for the body was Nicholas's voluntary confession. In 2013, Nicholas was released from prison, and the only one who was happy about it was David Marshbarn. He contacted Nicholas on the very first day after his release. He structured the dialogue so that Nicholas wouldn't think David suspected him. Nicholas made it seem as if David considered him a crucial witness in the case, and David managed to gain Nicholas's trust. Over time, they began to see each other more and more often. They spent many evenings at the local bar and went fishing. David helped Nicholas with money and housing. And for Nicholas, considering everyone knew he was in prison for pedophilia, David was the only friend in this city. But David was only interested in one thing: getting the guy to admit his guilt in Kelly Bordeaux's disappearance. It wasn't an easy task, and when David realized he wouldn't be able to get Nicholas to confess by simply pretending to be a trusted friend, he decided to try something else. He began torturing Nicholas, not physically, but mentally. He ordered employees from his agency to monitor him 24/7, and to do so in such a way that Nicholas knew someone was watching him. This literally drove Nicholas paranoid. He'd walk the streets looking over his shoulder and couldn't sleep well at night. He constantly felt like someone was watching him, thinking it was the police, and he repeatedly complained to David about it. Finally, when David realized the guy was completely exhausted, he, like a true friend, offered him a way out of the situation. He showed Nicholas a document signed by a state judge. The document stated that in exchange for Nicholas's confession, the authorities were willing to give him only a couple of years in prison. Amid constant anxiety and a growing paranoia, Nicholas believed this was a good deal and agreed to it. But he didn't know it was a forgery. David had printed the document himself, and naturally, it had no legal force. He was overcome with fear, but Nicholas believed him and told him what had happened that very night. David called the police, and they went into the woods to search for Kelly Bordeaux's body.
As I understand it, you decided to do the right thing. Try to kind of tell us a little bit about what happened. You want to just give me a quick synopsis of what happened?
Yeah. Well, where you want me to start from? The very beginning?
Well, let's do it like this, Nick.
Went and picked her up. Went back to the bar. Played pool, drank, sung karaoke. Everything was going good. Then I reckon somebody had told her about my sex offense thing. And I kind of, I didn't know it, but that's when she started acting kind of funny towards me. And when she said she was ready to go home, I was talking with her, and I can't remember exactly what was said, but I know she said to me, she said, "Nah, you child molester," or something like that. And I just snapped and zoned out and hit her, knocked her out. And I stuck her in the car and took her back to where I stayed at. And when she woke up, started screaming, and I hit her again, knocked her out again. And I can't really remember what happened in that time period. I know, she was dead. I stuck her in the car and took her down here.
Did y'all ever have any sex? No.
According to Nicholas, he and Kelly spent that evening together at a bar. Someone told the girl that Nicholas had a past conviction for pedophilia. When the girl found out, she began to behave very aggressively towards Nicholas, eventually calling him a fucking pedophile. At that moment, something switched in his head. He hit her and dragged her into his car. Then he took her to his trailer, where she regained consciousness. But there was no turning back for Nicholas, and he killed her. Now, 2 years later, her body has finally been found and her family has been able to mourn. A year later, Nicholas was sentenced to life in prison. This was all made possible only by the resourcefulness of a dedicated private detective. While he may have had a personal interest in the case, his work still deserves only praise.
Mr. Hobart, could you look at me for a minute? Please. I don't understand. How? You could take a beautiful young girl for pretty much no reason and beat the life right out of her.